He did not wake up one morning expecting his life to change. There was no dramatic moment, no sudden opportunity, and no loud announcement from the world telling him that success was on its way. His life looked ordinary, almost invisible. Every day felt the same. He woke up early, rushed through a weak cup of tea, and left for work with a tired mind and heavy steps. His job paid just enough to survive, not enough to dream. At night, he returned home exhausted, scrolling through his phone, watching other people succeed while he stayed in the same place. He often told himself that one day things would change, but deep inside, he did not believe it. He blamed his circumstances. He blamed the economy, his background, his lack of connections. Sometimes he even blamed luck. It felt easier to believe that success belonged to others, not to someone like him. He had tried big changes before. He tried waking up early once, but gave up after a week. He tried learning new skills, but quit when progress felt slow. Every failed attempt made him more careful, more afraid to try again. Over time, his confidence quietly disappeared. One evening, after another long and disappointing day, he sat alone in his room. The lights were dim, and the noise of the outside world felt distant. He was not sad enough to cry, but not hopeful enough to smile. He felt stuck. While scrolling on his phone, he came across a short video. It was not motivational in a loud or dramatic way. A simple man was speaking calmly. He said something that stayed in his mind. You don't need a big change. You need one small habit, done every day, even when it feels useless. At first, he ignored it. He had heard similar things before. But that night, the words returned to him again and again. One small habit. Not a huge goal. Not a perfect plan. Just one small action. He asked himself what that habit could be. He thought of many things, but all felt difficult. Then he chose something simple, almost too simple to matter. He decided that every night, before sleeping, he would spend 15 minutes learning one useful thing. No pressure. No expectations. Just 15 minutes. The next night, he almost skipped it. He was tired and distracted. But he remembered his promise and opened his laptop. He watched a short lesson, barely paying attention. When 15 minutes were over, he closed the laptop and went to sleep. He did not feel smarter or better. Nothing changed. Still, he felt slightly proud for keeping his promise. Days passed, and he continued. Some nights he learned with interest, other nights he learned while feeling bored. Sometimes he missed a day and felt disappointed, but instead of quitting, he continued the next night. Slowly, something strange happened. The habit stopped feeling heavy. It became normal, like brushing his teeth. He stopped asking himself whether it mattered. He just did it. Weeks later, he noticed small changes. He understood things faster at work. He asked better questions. His confidence grew quietly, without noise. No one around him noticed yet, but he felt different inside. He felt in control, even if just a little. That feeling was new, and it felt powerful. He did not know it yet, but this small habit was building something bigger than knowledge. It was building discipline. It was teaching him to show up for himself, even when motivation was missing. And without realizing it, he had taken the first real step toward unexpected success. He did not tell anyone about his new habit. It felt too fragile to share, like a small flame that could go out if the wind touched it. Every night, he protected those 15 minutes. Sometimes it was late, sometimes his eyes burned with tiredness, but he still showed up. He learned slowly, without rushing, without comparing himself to others. He stopped searching for fast results and focused only on consistency. At work, changes began to appear in quiet ways. He noticed problems that others ignored. He understood processes more clearly. When coworkers complained, he listened instead of joining in. His mind felt sharper, more organized. One day, during a meeting, his manager asked a question. Usually, he stayed silent. That day, he spoke. His voice was calm, his idea clear. The room became quiet for a moment, then the manager nodded. It was a small moment, but it stayed with him all day. That night, he felt something unfamiliar. Hope. Not the loud, unrealistic kind, but a gentle belief that growth was possible. He did not increase his study time or change his habit. He kept it small. He knew now that the power was not in doing more, but in doing it every day. When his mind tried to push him toward big plans, he returned to the simplicity of his routine. Months passed. His knowledge deepened. He started connecting ideas without effort. People began to ask him questions. At first, it surprised him. Then it felt normal. His manager noticed his improvement and gave him more responsibility. The work became challenging, but he no longer felt afraid. He felt prepared. Even when he failed, he learned faster than before. Failure stopped feeling like proof of weakness and started feeling like part of progress. Outside of work, his behavior changed too. He became more patient. He spoke with more confidence. He stopped wasting hours on things that brought no value. He still rested and enjoyed life, but with intention. He respected his time now. The same person who once felt invisible began to feel grounded, steady, and capable. One evening, while reflecting on his journey, he realized something important. Success had not arrived suddenly. There was no single breakthrough moment. It was built quietly, night after night, through a habit that once felt meaningless. That realization filled him with gratitude. He understood that discipline had given him freedom. Freedom from doubt. Freedom from fear. Freedom from waiting for luck. Then an unexpected opportunity appeared. A new project opened at work, one that required skills he had been developing. Many hesitated. He did not. He volunteered. His manager looked surprised but agreed. The project was demanding, and pressure was high. Mistakes happened. Deadlines were tight. Yet he stayed calm. He relied on what he had built, not on confidence alone, but on preparation. Late nights returned, but this time, they felt different. They felt purposeful. His small habit had trained him for moments like these. While others burned out, he adapted. He learned what was needed and applied it quickly. The project succeeded, not perfectly, but strongly enough to be noticed. When the project ended, recognition followed. Not loud praise, but trust. More responsibility. A better role. For the first time, he saw a future he could shape. And deep inside, he knew that none of it was an accident. The habit continued. 15 minutes every night. No matter how far he went, he never abandoned the habit that built him. Because now he understood the truth. Unexpected success is not created by sudden change. It is created by small actions, repeated patiently, until they become part of who you are. Success began to change how others saw him, but more importantly, it changed how he saw himself. He no longer felt like someone waiting for permission to grow. He felt responsible for his own progress. That shift was quiet, but it was powerful. Each day, he walked with a little more confidence, not because everything was perfect, but because he trusted his ability to handle whatever came next. The habit remained simple, but its effect grew deeper. Those 15 minutes had become a space where he met himself honestly. Sometimes he reviewed what he had learned. Other times, he explored new ideas. There were nights when he felt stuck, when learning felt slow and frustrating. Yet he stayed. He had learned that growth often feels uncomfortable before it feels rewarding. As his role at work expanded, pressure increased. Expectations were higher. People relied on him. At first, the weight felt heavy. Old fears returned, whispering that he might fail, that he did not truly belong at this level. But now, he recognized those thoughts. He did not fight them. He continued his routine. One night at a time, he strengthened his skills and his mindset. He began mentoring a junior colleague who reminded him of his past self. Quiet, uncertain, full of potential but unsure where to begin. Instead of giving big advice, he shared one simple lesson. He spoke about consistency, about choosing one small habit and protecting it. He did not promise fast results. He promised change, if patience was respected. Watching the younger colleague slowly improve felt more rewarding than any title. Outside of work, opportunities began to appear. People invited him to collaborate on small projects. Some succeeded, others failed. He treated both the same. Each experience became a lesson. His habit had taught him how to learn, not just what to learn. That skill became his greatest strength. One evening, he sat alone again, in the same room where he once felt stuck. The lights were similar, the silence familiar, but everything else was different. He no longer felt empty. He felt full of direction. He realized that the habit had given him something more valuable than success. It had given him identity. He was no longer someone who gave up easily. He was someone who showed up. A challenge arrived that tested him deeply. A major responsibility was placed in his hands, one that carried risk and visibility. The fear was real. Failure would be public. The old version of him would have avoided it. This time, he accepted. Not because he was fearless, but because he trusted his preparation. The days were intense. Mistakes happened. Doubts appeared. Yet every night, he returned to his habit. Even when exhausted, even when discouraged, he gave himself those 15 minutes. They became an anchor, a reminder of how far he had come and how far he could still go. The challenge did not make him famous or rich overnight. It did something better. It proved to him that he could grow beyond his limits. That realization changed everything. He stopped measuring success by speed or comparison. He measured it by alignment. Was he becoming better than yesterday? That question guided him forward. Slowly, the results became visible. His work gained respect. His voice carried weight. People listened. Opportunities grew larger. Not because he chased them, but because he was ready when they arrived. The habit had turned readiness into his natural state. He understood now that unexpected success is rarely unexpected in effort. It is the result of quiet discipline, repeated long enough to shape character. And as he moved forward, he carried one truth with him. No matter how high he climbed, he would always return to the simple habit that taught him how to rise. He did not celebrate when he reached what others called success. There was no sudden happiness or feeling of arrival. Instead, there was calm. A deep sense of stability. His life felt balanced. Not perfect, but steady. The habit that once felt small and ordinary had quietly shaped his thinking, his behavior, and his future. He looked back at the person he used to be, the one who waited for motivation, the one who believed change required the right moment. He felt compassion, not regret. That version of him did the best he could with what he knew at the time. Growth had not come from force or pressure. It came from patience. From choosing to act even when progress was invisible. Over time, his responsibilities grew beyond work. People began to seek his guidance. Some asked how he became confident. Others asked how he stayed consistent. His answer was always simple. He did not talk about talent or luck. He spoke about showing up daily for a small promise made to oneself. Many were disappointed by the simplicity of the answer. A few understood. Those few changed their lives. The habit continued to evolve. Sometimes the 15 minutes became 20. Sometimes it returned to 10. The number never mattered. The commitment did. He learned that habits are not chains. They are anchors. They keep you grounded when life becomes uncertain. There were still difficult days. Moments of doubt never fully disappeared. Failure still visited from time to time. But now, failure no longer controlled him. It became feedback, not a verdict. Each setback strengthened his understanding. Success was not the absence of struggle. It was the ability to continue despite it. One quiet morning, he realized something powerful. The habit had given him freedom. Freedom from fear of starting. Freedom from fear of being slow. Freedom from fear of being unnoticed. He no longer needed external validation to feel worthy. His discipline had become his confidence. Unexpected success had arrived, but it did not change his values. It refined them. He valued effort over outcomes. Consistency over intensity. Progress over perfection. These values shaped his decisions and protected him from burnout and pride. He shared his story not to impress, but to remind others that growth is available to anyone willing to be patient. Not everyone would listen. That was fine. He had learned that change cannot be forced. It must be chosen. At night, he still honored his habit. Not because he feared losing success, but because it reminded him of who he was. A person who keeps promises to himself. A person who believes in small steps. A person who understands that true transformation is quiet. The world often celebrates loud victories and instant results. His journey taught him something different. The most powerful changes happen silently, in moments no one applauds. They happen when no one is watching. And that is how a simple habit built unexpected success. Not through luck, not through shortcuts, but through consistency, patience, and the courage to begin, even when the beginning feels small.